rhythm here with Cam Brighton, 15 yards and a first down, and the Buccaneers get the ball moving. And then ultimately, oh my goodness, RC, he's got his old buddy Gronk.
This drive started with 3 great runs by Leonard Fournette, and the play-action pass pushed the ball in the end zone.
Brady's first ever Super Bowl touchdown in the first quarter, so it's 7-3. Then this incredibly important sequence. On a second down and goal, they try for the fat guy touchdown, and they don't get it, which sets up a third down. Ronald Jones is stuffed. RC, they decide to go for it on the fourth down, which is the right call, and they get stuffed again. How about the defense?
Listen, at this point, I'm saying this is it. This is the play that Kansas City needs. This is going to turn the game around. 99 yards for Patrick Mahomes on the next drive.
Absolutely. Take a look at that effort. We all thought that. Every single person thought that's going to shift the entire momentum of the game, but it does not. More defense. After one quick first down, there's a drop from Travis Kelce, and the Chiefs just were not in sync. Now, back come the Buccaneers. Here's a huge moment in the game, RC. It's a tip, it's a pick, but it's coming back on defensive holding.
This feels like the AFC Championship all over again. You get a tip pick, but it's a defensive holding or a defensive penalty. You can't give Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers extra chances.
Officiating a big part of the story in the first half last night. The Chiefs didn't like it. Meanwhile, Brady likes this. Finding Gronk again for the touchdown. And then how about the drawing afterwards? RC, look at Brady and Tyrann Mathieu. They're going at it. Well,
that's just two competitors. That's two competitors wanting to win the game, going at each other, and we saw this happen all night.
Now, a huge moment here at the end of the first half. Kansas City using timeouts to try and get the ball back, and it backfires. Tampa gets a first down, and then they get this. Is this a good call on the defensive interference?
Listen, I think it's a bad call. I feel like that ball was uncatchable, but you got to make the calls if you make them in a regular season football game.
And then they would continue. There's another pass interference in the end zone. This one on Mathieu. The Chiefs' 95 penalty yards in the first half, most in a half in Super Bowl history, and that would lead to this with 6 seconds left. Tom Brady to Antonio Brown, 21-6 at halftime. And Brady and Mathieu still going at it. Brady chasing the Honey Badger down the field as that thing would get going. Now, first drive of the second half for Tampa. More of the same. First, it's Gronk work in the middle of the field. And there's Tyrann Mathieu, RC. Clearly, Mathieu thinks he has help, and he's mistaken.
Well, listen, Tom Brady said he was going to go at him all game. He seemed to find 32 and make sure he threw the football to the guy he was supposed to be on.
And then this happened. Leonard Fournette just bursting through the defense, and you're thinking to yourself, holy smoke, Mahomes is in trouble, 28-9. And that trouble was spelled S-H-A-Q. Shaq Barrett all over him. The Buccaneers bringing the pressure all night long. Here's a 3rd and 14, and RC, it's going to get to them again. We're going to have another tip and another pick.
This is a great play by Edwards coming around Tyreek Hill, and Antoine Winfield Jr. is a magnet to the ball. He's a guy much like 32 for the Kansas City Chiefs. That dude's a star.
The Bucs tack on a field goal. It's 31-9. Now on a fourth down play, the Chiefs have to go for it here early in the fourth quarter. And this is a perfect illustration of what the game was like for Patrick Mahomes, RC. What's he supposed to do? He almost pulls this off.
Hey, listen, this is what Michael Jordan felt like playing with Bugs Bunny and the rest of the crew on Space Jam. How is he going to beat the Monstars when Darrell Williams and the rest of the guys are doing this?
He throws that ball parallel to the ground. It had a chance. Now 5 minutes left. It's Mahomes again. Look at the hit he's going to take here.
Listen, he was under siege all night. This play is just a microcosm of what the entire game was.
He was pressured 29 times last night, most pressures on any quarterback in Super Bowl history. Now on a fourth down play, again, it's Mahomes just running for his life. Ultimately, this is going to fall incomplete. Antoine Winfield going to get flagged for taunting here for throwing up the deuces, RC. What do you think?
So you mean to tell me you can throw up the deuces, you can backflip, you can backpedal into the end zone, but I clamp you all day and I get a penalty? Heck no, man. Heck no, man.
Impact on the outcome. This is the one that seals it. Devin White with the interception in the final 2 minutes, and it's over. Tom Brady wins his 7th Super Bowl. For Patrick Mahomes, there'll have to be better days. For Bruce Arians, the oldest head coach ever to win the Super Bowl, the celebration was very much on. A very tough night, capping off a tough week for Andy Reid. But it's Arians, it's Brady, it's Gronk. It's a celebration in Tampa. In their home stadium, the Bucs win Super Bowl 55, and Brady is the MVP.
This has been an amazing year. Amazing year. We got off to a good start, 7-2, and then had a little rough stretch where we kind of found our identity and played a lot better football down last December, January. And just really proud of all the guys, proud of all the coaches, the effort we put in. We knew we were playing a great football team tonight, and we got the job done. So you want to get this far, you got to get the job done, and we did it.
His leadership is off the charts, and he's a winner, man, and that's all you can say. He brought a winning mentality to a really talented football team that didn't know how to win.
He's the GOAT. He is the greatest football player to ever play, and I can tell my kids I play with that man, and I'm just blessed.
Well, it's kind of hard to argue anything other than Tom Brady is the GOAT. You see it on your screen. He now has more Super Bowls than any franchise in the entire National Football League. And bear in mind, during this past offseason, he signed with a team that hadn't been in the playoffs in 13 years and hadn't won a playoff game since a Super Bowl that was played in January of 2003. That is what Tom Brady did. So again, here's the crew as we have Neek here, RC, of course, Dan Orlovsky, and Shefty is ready to go. And Ryan, I just want to start with you again because you said it in the meeting this morning. What do we say of Tom Brady this morning and what he means to the NFL?
The GOAT conversation is over. The GOAT conversation is settled. In my mind right now, I'm seeing Vince Carter after he dunked the ball in his dunk contest, and he goes, "It's over," because that's it. He's put it so far that he's put it so far away from anyone even challenging what he can do with this win. Let's think about what Tom Brady had to do to win this Super Bowl. Right? He's playing through a pandemic. He has no offseason. Some of his biggest targets and some of his biggest skill players are guys that came over with him throughout the offseason, even through the season with Antonio Brown. And you're asking him to learn a new offense, find a new place, be a leader in a new locker room. And Tom Brady does all of those things. And not only does he just get to the Super Bowl, but he plays extremely well. Tom Brady was not carried to the Lombardi Trophy. It was actually the other way. You think about Leonard Fournette, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, all of these people who were huge in this game, they aren't Tampa Bay Buccaneers if general manager Tom Brady doesn't get them there. They all came to play with the GOAT. Like Leonard Fournette said, I am going to tell my kids I played with Tom Brady. I'm not going to tell my kids I won a Lombardi. I'm not going to tell my kids I won a Super Bowl. I'm not going to tell my kids I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl game. You know what I'm going to tell them? That Tom Brady was my teammate. That's his effect. That's who he is. He's the greatest organization of all time.
Yeah, you said it as a joke a few weeks ago, but now it doesn't feel like such a joke. He's the Super Bowl MVP and maybe the executive of the year. Dominique, what do we say about what this means for his legacy, for his place in the sport, for his place in the history of American sports?
I mean, I think that him beating Patrick Mahomes was something important and something special because just a week ago, I think RC and I were on here talking about maybe Patrick Mahomes can catch Tom Brady in this with fewer than 6 Super Bowls. Now you can't because you beat him in this game, in this moment. Now, I know it's a team game, but once we get further away from this, that's not how we're going to view this. We're going to view this as a significant moment, and not only did he beat Patrick Mahomes, he made so many of us look stupid because I was drunk on Patrick Mahomes. We all were drunk on Patrick Mahomes. We were like, hey, D-line, Smee-line. It don't matter. Patrick Mahomes is going to figure it out. But no, Patrick Mahomes was not the special guy in this game. It was Tom Brady. And to RC's point, Tom Brady, none of this happens without Tom Brady. The first person, the owner of the franchise, thanked was Tom Brady. He said he brought it down here. He taught us how to do it. He didn't thank his mom. He didn't thank his family. He didn't thank his coach. He said, you know what? Tom Brady came down here and showed us how to do it. Let's follow that man.
And so, Dan Orlovsky, well, let's talk about the play because so much talk about the leadership, so much talk about what he means to the franchise and to the history of the league. But the reality is, as RC said, he didn't get carried to a championship here. Hey, how about the way he actually played on the field all year and last night?
Yeah, Greeny, it's the greatest Super Bowl run a quarterback has ever gone on. I mean, he just went through 3 of the all-time greats at the position, 3 guys that will be Hall of Famers. 2 of them on the road, right, with Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers, and then knocked off the king of football right now in Patrick Mahomes. So for Tom Brady, it's the greatest Super Bowl run a quarterback has ever been on. I think this is, why it's so impressive is the quarterback position. There's no position like it in football, in sports, that is more impactful. It's the most impactful position in sports. You impact so many pieces around you. yet it's also the position that's most dependent on those around them in sports. And for him to be so trusting of those guys is so impressive. I mean, Tom Brady was said that he's too old. His arm wasn't strong enough. He had fallen off the cliff. Couldn't get it done without Bill. I mean, how's that looking today? You know, and I think that we've labeled him the greatest of a lot of different things. I think he's the greatest believer in that I've ever witnessed. RC labeled off Fournette and AB and Gronk. Two of those three guys were cast off. Two of those three guys, and some of it because their own work, but two of those three guys no one believed in but Tom, multiple times. They had huge impact in that football game last night. Tom Brady is the greatest team sports winner in the history of team sports.
And Shefty, I saw your tweet last night going all the way back to the beginning of this, that when Tom Brady decided to leave New England, there were really only two teams that went after him. For those who didn't see it, pick up on that thought, Shefty.
Well, first of all, Dan's saying he's the greatest player in sports and the quarterback is the most impactful position. So if we're going to take what he said and apply it to last offseason, all I could think about as I'm watching the game last night is when he became a free agent, there were teams that thought about making a move with Tom Brady. But in the end, ultimately, when he became a free agent in mid-March, there were two teams that seriously pursued him. The Los Angeles Chargers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there were 30 other teams that thought they had a better quarterback solution than going out and getting the greatest player in NFL history at the most impactful position, a man capable of changing your entire culture. How could 30 teams take a look at a guy where you didn't even have to trade any picks to New England? You didn't have to give up any compensation. All you had to do was hand your program to him. And there were two teams that wanted to do that. Two, okay? The rest looked past him. They all thought he was too old. They all thought he looked washed up in New England in his last season there. They all thought he wouldn't be able to do it at the age of 43. And once again, I think one of the things that drives Tom Brady is proving people wrong. And now it's proving people wrong at the age that he's doing it at.
He's the first player to win Super Bowl MVP for two different teams. I have a sheet of things that he has done now that would take me the rest of the show to read them all. But let's then get down to the next order of business, because TB12 is the story. But that's not why the Buccaneers won the game. They won it because of the other TB's 11. Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator, and the guys who played defense for the Buccaneers last night dominated Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Listen.
They beat us pretty good. The worst I think I've been beaten in a long time.
We knew they wasn't physical enough. You know, they real gimmicky on offense, and man, we don't play like that, man. We like smash mouth football. We like coming downhill, getting in them trenches. That's what we built off. That's why we're the #1 rush defense in the league, and that's why on the back end we strapped up, man. So we knew we wanted to blow them out. We knew whatever we gave them in that first game, it was because we gave them. And Todd Bowles wasn't letting that happen this game.
They kind of took away our deep stuff. They took away the sidelines, and they did a good job of rallying to the football and making tackles. We weren't executing early. I had a few miscues. We weren't on the same page. But I mean, credit to them, man. They played a heck of a game defensively and offensively and beat us.
They most certainly did. So, Dan Orlovsky, I'll start with you from a quarterback's perspective. There's so much there. I see the look on your face, RC, and I agree. But, Dan, I'll start with you from a quarterback's perspective. What happened? What happened last night to what we thought was as good an offense as we'd ever seen?
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen Patrick Mahomes look human. And that's because it was the most one-sided line of scrimmage Super Bowl I've ever seen. You know, this was about the quarterback having to play faster than he wanted to. This was about the offense having to play faster than the play was set up for it to be. And that's because this defensive line was absolutely dominant, and the coverage matched it. And as a quarterback, when you have to play faster than you want to, or you have to play faster than, like, everyone's saying, well, why isn't Patrick Mahomes getting the ball out? Because the receivers are like 3 yards downfield. The play hasn't developed yet, you know? And so this was about Todd Bowles realizing he didn't have to get too creative, but he couldn't be lazy either. That was the most impressive thing from the defense, was he knew his front four was going to be dominant, But he didn't just go, hey, guys, line up and go win the game. He moved guys around. He put Vita Vea at defensive end and Jason Pierre-Paul at tackle and rushed some of those weaknesses of the offensive line. But Patrick Mahomes looked human, and it was the first time I've ever seen it.
All right, Dominique, let's talk about this defense because we knew the Buccaneers had a good defense. We talked about them all year. That's a good defense, but they're not the 85 Bears. But the last 3 games, to a point Dan made earlier, they shut down Drew Brees. They made life miserable for Aaron Rodgers, and they dominated Patrick Mahomes. How did they do this?
Yeah, in those other 2 games, it was a lot of scheming, I think, by Todd Bowles. In this game, it didn't feel like as much scheming. They were playing some really heavy and deep coverages and zones, but what I was most impressed by was their D-line's ability to contain Patrick Mahomes and their secondary's ability to cover deep because the Chiefs' offense is very well designed, but also when plays break down, that's when they're at their most dangerous. When the plays broke down yesterday, it felt like the defensive line were still getting to Patrick Mahomes, not letting him have as much time as he wanted. And when he would throw it downfield, people would seem like they were open, but by the time the ball got there were 2 and 3 guys diving in front of the receiver. So it was a really impressive athletic performance and confident performance. 9 points for this offense. I couldn't have imagined that before that happened last night. It was not something that I thought was in the realm of possibility. I could see the Chiefs potentially losing, but 9 points and no touchdowns, that's not just Todd Bowles. Right. That's just the talent that they have out there.
RC, talk about it. What did they do? What did you see from that defense last night?
Remember we talked about this last week, though, when I was talking about the rosters, and I said, listen, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a better roster, and it was mostly because of the defense. We knew that top-heavy, the Kansas City Chiefs were top-heavy offensively with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, but I thought defensively that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were just so much better than the Kansas City Chiefs were. And when you listen to Devin White talk after the game, that's a dude who believes what he's saying. And remember, he mentioned Todd Bowles against the New Orleans Saints as well. This does not happen without that Week 12 matchup. If these teams don't see each other that week, if Todd Bowles isn't humbled a little bit, if this defense isn't a little upset about what happened that day, I don't think that Todd Bowles makes the changes that he made to play the cover 2, to disguise more, to disguise the blitz and fall back into the zone, the way that they played the scramble drill. Those things don't happen if you don't see the Kansas City Chiefs one time before this. And when you think about Todd Bowles, when you think about the adjustments, one person you look at is Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis shadowed Tyreek Hill. They made Tyreek Hill a team problem, not a Carlton Davis problem. And once they did that, the entire game changed.
And super quick, Dan, and we'll have more time to talk about this. Go ahead, Dan. Finish up.
Yeah, hitting on RC. You know how many times Tyreek Hill was played one-on-one in coverage? 0 the whole game. Now go back to Week 12. We could wrap this game up simply like this, Greeny. When you own the line of scrimmage, you own the football game. And Tampa Bay owned both lines of scrimmage. Y'all remember like 6, 7, 8 weeks ago when Bruce Arians got up after a game and said, we can do whatever the heck we want to, and we all were like, you watch the same game as us? They did whatever they wanted last night, and that's because they owned the line of scrimmage.
It's impossible to argue. I said it during the highlight. They pressured Mahomes last night more than any quarterback has ever been pressured in Super Bowl history. We wondered if their defensive line could wreck the game. They wrecked it on their way to a Super Bowl championship. We are just getting started.